to wait until the Instagram picks up on it too. Usually takes a hot minute. I feel like it should be faster than this. Oh, there we go. Look at me. I feel like it should be faster. Go live. Oh, okay. I'm closing everything else down that's still been open. Okie dokie. Hey, how are you?
Fine. How about you?
I'm good. I am tired. So I'm a little bit slow and I'm bleeding day one. So like everything is fucking slow. But I figured I'm going to bring up the thing that I brought up with husband this morning.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like certain corners of the internets are now very much doing the war is coming. And I keep, whenever I see someone talk about like war is coming, I think of that apparently Uncle Sam chooses you picture, but then with war is coming to you. And it almost sounds like a Telcel commercial to me.
Right.
War is coming to nearby you. Like that's how it sounds to me. And the reason what prompted this though is that let's call him Normie, in non-prep, not gun, not political Twitter or Facebook angles of the world, started sharing how he was afraid that war is actually coming. And I'm like, oh, well, the normies have like caught on something apparently that the war is coming. And I'm just like, from my perspective, war has been coming. Like I've heard war is coming since I was born.
Right.
So I'm like, what made it now that the war is coming to a house near you, versus all the other times? And or are we dealing with the same thing that we've been dealing with words, where the words have been overused so many times? Like, you know, when someone else tells me, "Hey, Nikki is racist," I'm gonna just assume she just rapped a rap song, right? Like, I'm not even assuming like she, right. Like she was just like rapping along with JC. I'm not even gonna assume that she's actually has negative bias against non-white people. I'm gonna just assume. Because the word doesn't mean anything anymore, right?
Right.
So is that what happened with war?
No, I will. Well, a little bit. Like here's the thing, right? For the United States, anyway. I'll just put it there. The United States has an actual constitutional definition of war, which is that the Congress declares it. Congress declares war against a particular country. That's it. And the only entity that can draw down is the commander-in-chief, the president. That's how the government works. We have not formally declared war since World War II. That's a historical fact. So, but that's not to say we haven't been at war. We just don't call it that anymore. We call it overseas contingency operations, and we call it humanitarian operations, and we call it all sorts of other things, but we don't call it war, right? The thing is that no veteran would agree with that. Like nobody who fought in Korea or Vietnam or Iraq or Afghanistan is going to say, yeah, it was all peaceful. As like, I didn't come back complete. I left an arm in Afghanistan, or I left my mental health in Vietnam, right? Like, I mean, so, and you weren't going there for your health. So we all know it wasn't a vacation. You went there to do something, you know, so it was a war by any other definition, just by virtue of what it was doing. Okay. We just didn't call it that. And so it's almost the inverse. We're not calling everything a war. We're not calling what is a war a war. So it's like, instead of calling everything racism, imagine not calling racism what it is, right? And like avoiding the term at all costs. So right now you have a bunch of people who are saying it's not a war. We're not at war. And I'm saying, okay, but if that's not a war, right, then what was the bombing of the USS Liberty? What was the planes running into 9/11, into the buildings on 9/11? What was the bombing of Pearl Harbor? Because those were all attacks on the US that immediately precipitated something. Now, USS Liberty.
They were an act of terrorism, right? So because they were one side. So this is where I get hung up, and maybe we need more words for this.
Yeah.
So an act of terrorism is a one-sided thing, and then the other party can respond, sure. But war is a two-sided going at each other. It's almost like, hey, we agreeing to fight right now, okay? Like we're going into a fight. Like that's how war versus and maybe we don't have enough words. And I'm going to use a super like side note example. Sexual assault right now can be anything from being catcalled to be full on raped.
Sure.
Right.
So
and I'm saying,
diluted. Right.
So I'm saying we need a differentiation. We need more words because it now has become an umbrella. And husband brought this morning. He brought up, well, we haven't had a war with like weapons, but we definitely have an economic war going on, right? And like a means of production war. I'm like, well, then we need to start calling that something else, though. So a bombing, the Pearl Harbor would be an act of terrorism or act of violence, which may be a catalyst to war.
Sure.
Or again, give it to me.
I guess, I mean, so here's the thing. An act of aggression, okay, is considered an act of war. Not to say that there was a formal war declared, right? Let's parse out the difference. One is a political, notation. The other is just a semantic notation, and that is to say that if a country bombs another country, that's considered an act of war, right? That is uniformly so. That is historically so. That an act of terrorism is is something with a political agenda. There was no political agenda to Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor was, you didn't listen to me. I literally told you I'm going to blow your shit up if you don't stop this embargo to Japan. And we just ignored the shit out of Hirohito and said, fuck you, do your worst. And he did. and then next thing you know, that invited us somehow to go fight Germany, which I don't understand that part. Like, I don't understand how Japan bombing the United States led us to Germany, but here we are.
Here we are.
That's what we did. So, I mean, despite the nonsensicalness of all of it, right? That's what happened. The bombing of the planes running into the towers of 9/11, I would agree with you, was an act of terrorism. I would agree with you on that. That was a political statement, right? That was, I mean, Osama bin Laden wrote a whole open letter to America explaining what that was about and like explained the political agenda behind it. And he was not representing a country. He was representing a political cause. So to that end, I agree with you that that was an act of terrorism. However, for the purposes of insurance policies, it was declared an act of war by George W. Bush. Okay. Do I agree? No, but that's what happened. And so everybody sold in, okay, if you come at my country, we're going to come for you. Who are you coming for, though? When it's an act of terrorism, there's no country that's owning that. Like,
right.
So like, who are you coming for? Al-Qaeda?
But we, meaning America, did use it as a catalyst.
Pretense for going to war and invading other country that had nothing to do with 9/11, right? But Germany, same thing. Like, Germany had nothing to do with the bombing of Pearl Harbor, but we went and bombed the shit out of Germany anyway, like, so I mean, it doesn't take much to set off the United States. The United States has been at war 11 months out of every year of its existence on average throughout its existence. Okay. So you
I don't know if it's super based or super stupid.
A little bit of stupid, because here we are holding our $40 trillion worth of dick in our hands, like unborn generations are being saddled with a mortgage, right? Like, so net it's stupid, but I think what a lot of people are referring to, and especially with Iran, is this ludicrous notion. And let me just back up for a second. The United States and Israel like to perceive war and are very sensitive about it when anything is done to them. But the shit that the United States has done to other countries, we keep saying is not war. It's not an act of war when we do it. It's only an act of war when they do it. So I'm sorry, but they're dropping white phosphorus on fucking Lebanon right now. I think that's an act of war. It's not an act of terrorism because it is an actual country attacking another sovereign country. That's an act of war as far as I'm concerned. And you've got, and they're decimating their cities. They're decimating their populations. So, I mean, if anybody did that to the United States, that would be considered an act of war. But because it's the United States perpetrating it, and because it's Israel perpetrating it, it's somehow something else. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're calling it, but it is in fact an act of war. I mean, because it essentially it's whatever, if you're going to call something an act of war, it goes both ways, right? And it is two-sided. And to your point, it is two-sided. Iran is engaging. They've retaliated. It is a retaliation. It's an act of war. Okay, we are at war with Iran right now. It is what it is. So what I'm bothered by is that is the way in which, and I think a lot of this, especially when it comes to the definition of war, is that nobody wants to own it. That is, it's this weird thing where we want to flex our nuts on the world stage, but nobody wants to own it. That's why Congress won't actually make a formal declaration, because nobody wants to sign their name to it, right? They'll kind of hoot and holler, in the media, but they won't put their name to it. And yet they're not going to stop it. They're not sitting there saying, hey, we didn't declare war. You can't just go do that. You can't just go do that. We have not declared war against Iran. What are you doing? Nobody actually calls out the executive either. They should be suing the executive right now and bringing them to SCOTUS and saying, hey, according to the Constitution, only Congress can declare war. We have not, and we're currently doing this nonsense over in Iran. This is not acceptable. Now, that's why they go out of their way to define it as something other than what it is, right?
I see. Yeah.
It's the loophole. So what they're doing is looking for a loophole specifically to perform the act, as opposed to the person, right? It's the inverse of the racism thing. Racism,
Gotcha.
everything is racism when it's not.
Now nothing is war.
Right. Now it's war, but we're not going to call it that. We're actually the other way around. We're saying anything but war, right?
So clearly you are way deeper in this. Like, I've really actively moved away from any political and I have a 5-limit scroll. I had a 10-limit scrolling, 10-minute scrolling time per day, and it's down to 5 now. So I'm out of the fucking loops. So tell me what the kind of the digital environment climate is telling about World War III. Because people are yelling World War III is coming, and I'm like, for one, I'm like, well, it will never fucking reach me. 2, wars are a great fucking opportunity for business. That's me, right? During war, business fucking skyrockets if you keep at it. And 3, I'm like, we're gonna learn. We're gonna learn who's made of what.
That's right. I mean, at the end of the day, it's already happening, right? There's nothing you're going to do to stop it. So all you can do at most is criticize it, which I do.
Well, yeah,
I am.
Right. So so tell me, explain it to me. Yeah.
So I think right now what I'm seeing is a bunch of people rationalizing the fact that all of a sudden we've been in this, right? We're revealing the fact that we've been in a Cold War with Iran for 40 years. That's the claim. It's not true. It isn't true. Iran. Oh, go ahead.
No. I was like, no, it's not true.
Right.
We're like, no.
It's not true. It's not true. It's a crock of shit, because nobody was talking about it until 5 minutes ago. Nobody said Cold War with Iran for the past 40 years. Nobody said that. Right. Contrast that with the Cold War with Russia, where we did say that regularly.
Constantly. Well, and it was constantly, right?
We still harken back to that and call that the Cold War era. That was 100%. You can call that a Cold War. That's fine. But that, you see, they came up with a term for that, right? That we weren't actually embattled, but we were definitely staring each other down and doing some. We were walking to the line and putting our dicks against each other, like the tip, seeing which one to we're not. Right. Oh, you touched me first. You're right. It was tenuous. I mean, people were afraid, honestly, of a nuclear war and all that, because both.
And this was in Europe very present, right? During the Cold War, everyone in the schools had drills or wearing plastic bags on plastic bags. So when the radiation, whatever.
Yeah, the school desk was going to prevent me from dying in a nuclear holocaust. Apparently, it was made of that kind of material. My public
the passport to 9/11. survived the fucking melting. I want bullet vests out of those passports, motherfuckers.
Fuck yes, build my house out of that shit.
Oh damn!
Don't just build my desk. Build my whole fucking house out of that shit.
Passport house, baby.
But that's the thing, right? The consistency is like, it was not there. And now they're pulling it out of their hat and saying, oh, we've been at war with them for 40 years. Okay, fine. Let's say we've been kind of staring them down for 40 years. I'll even grant that. I find that in most cases where these claims are made, the best argument is to steel man the argument. Okay, let's take it all the way then. Let's go. Let's unpack your side and let's agree with everything. I'll go all the way. But then once we go there, you've got to be consistent about the argument, right? So fine, we've been staring down Iran for 40 years. What happened roughly just over 40 years ago, right? 1979, a little over 40 years ago. What was happening? The CIA funded the Mujahideen.
Fucking CIA.
Surprise! It's us again.
Well, so I have to just give a little like pushback though, because at this point, okay, wait. I have to like compartmentalize this in my head. So we have several us that we're speaking of. We have us, America as a nation, just right. Borders and geographical location. Then we have us, the U.S. government, and then we have the CIA, which very much so separately operates against its own government.
Oh.
And so I just noticed just a little trigger to call it us when it actively operates against us, the United States people, like as like that's not even us anymore. It's like them, the CIA.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, because like it has super. Okay, anyway, go. Yeah.
There's no oversight, right? There's no. It's its own rogue thing that we apparently funded.
Completely fucking rogue to a point where we're now like, who is feeding, who is accepting, who is saying yes to things that the CIA is even fucking doing? Because this is the thing, as an outsider, right? So as an outsider, we as Europeans kind of have the perspective of America, very Hollywood-like, right?
Oh, right.
So yeah, the glorious FBI, it's like the secret agents, right? And they're like the freedom, and they're very much like, you have the police, and then above that you have the FBI. They do like the real hard stuff, right? And then you have the CIAs who are like the spies. They have like, their fucking roots and everything, but they're being portrayed as like the good guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not sure I don't think I've ever known really about the ATF. Fuck the ATF, by the way. But I don't think I've ever known about the ATF. Like, I think it passes like in Hollywood movies, but I don't think it really lands for us because we don't have anything similar to that. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm American, right? Like, the CIA is very fucking anti-government and its American people. Like, It's completely fucking, like you said, it's like, everyone's afraid of like Wall-E, the AI robot fucking going rogue. I'm like, we already have a threat. It's the CIA.
Right. And it's, and it's kind of detached from any sort of systemic accountability, right? So it does its own thing, but it has no problem taking our money. And if it doesn't get our money, it'll go and it'll take whatever money we have and go flip it for some guns or some drugs and make its own money. It'll do its own thing. Like it really is.
More about that. People don't know this. Give an example, because this is very true. Go.
Of them going right. All the Fast and Furious. There were so many different cases where they took simple arms and sold it and said, fine, we'll just sell the arms that we've got and we'll make money there. We're gonna find our money. Like, we're gonna get our money and we're gonna get our funding and we're gonna keep doing it. Like it just is. Like it there's no stopping it, in large part because it's really decentralized. It is one of the more decentralized entities where it's like, I hire you and then I disavow you. The first thing I tell you, it's over. Like, I don't know you, right? So so you're mine when you're successful. You're cut off and burned when you're not. And so it kind of filters itself out almost as soon as and it doesn't even all have agents. A lot of it is just, informants. Like, they're just private entities helping out. Like, there's employees, there are employees, but there's private entities that are fully co-opted and are helping, and they're just like, yeah, I just get paid. I don't know, but you don't want to know, so they're doing that. So they funded the Mujahideen in 1979, the Mujahideen is like this disenfranchised jihadis who basically the Carter administration likes to wash its hands of it and say, oh, we didn't do anything. We only had one term. But that's exactly what its CIA did. So that pretty much took the radical of radicals and unleashed them with money and started funding them, which basically meant it was just a matter of time before Muslim Brotherhood and, there's the Hamas, Hezbollah, whatever. Pick a name, ISIS, doesn't matter. It's the same rebranded shit. Like they're just this. Okay. So that happened, right? But not before the United States in 1953, right, took out the duly elected leader of Iran and replaced it with a Shah. So their own Shah. They put in their
under whose administration was that?
1953. I'm thinking Truman. I think it's Truman. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. I don't know.
I'm just googling it quickly.
Yeah.
Eisenhower.
Okay.
Okay.
I believe it. Yep. They were around the same time. So this happens under Ike. Fine. But we do this, and we did it because Iran decided to socialize and nationalize their oil, right? And basically ripped off British petroleum, pissed off the British, Welsh on a deal, basically. So we decided that's what we're going to do. We're going to just overthrow their leader, put in a puppet, and it'll be fine. Which is like us in Central America. It's us in the Middle East. It's us all the time in Africa. It's us. It's us doing this all the damn time. Like this, the U.S. does this. Like when you're not cooperating, we just go and pluck you out and do something else. I mean, you have to wonder why it is that we hold Maduro to a much different standard than the Prime Minister of Honduras. They're both narco leaders of narco states, but one played ball, the other one didn't. And so the Honduran got released and sent back. And now the Venezuelan is sitting there probably getting a good tongue lashing and being told what's up. God knows what's happening to him. But that's the thing is it's like, so we fucked with that area and we've been fucking with that area. Okay. And we've been doing this in concert with Israel. Over the past 40 years, it's not that we have always been at a Cold War with Iran. It's that Israel for the past 40 years has been telling us that their nuclear power is imminent at any given time, weeks away. And we've been weeks away from a nuclear Iran for 40 years, to the point where nobody really, it was the boy who cried wolf, to the point where we didn't believe him anymore. But we got involved in Iraq for Israel. That was the person that it was their intelligence. It was their intelligence that said that Iran tried to take out Trump. That's Israeli intelligence. That's not American intelligence.
We need to touch on this little thing. So again, I stopped interneting, by lack of better wording,
Sure.
Before the bandwagon, and I'm not saying it's incorrect. When I use the word bandwagon, I'm not insinuating it's correct, but before it got momentum, the whole Israel Jew. So I'm seeing a rise of the Jews did this, the Jews did that, and now Goy, right, is making a fucking rise, which is the Jewish term, if I say correctly, for like a non-Jew, like white boy, I guess. I'm not sure if it's like color related, but
no, it is a derogatory term.
It's for a non-Jew, right?
Right.
And I see that name, that Goy thing, being adopted by non-Jews, and I keep hearing people like, well, the Jews are at it again. And I'm like, I don't think y'all completely understand what's going on. Like, I don't even understand what's going on. But again, now we're doing everything is racism, everything is Jews. I'm like, there's a significant difference between like the Jewish population, worldwide, even here in America, the Polowskis in fucking Poland and in Germany and fucking Czech Republic, and because the Jews are everywhere. Jewish people are everywhere versus the state Israel versus a handful of people that might be Jewish that don't even care for borders because it's just one play game, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing this all just being again thrown on one fucking pile, and it's the Jews, and I'm like, I have questions.
Yeah, no, it is not. So Israel is a political entity, okay, that hides behind a biblical birthright, but it's a secular state. So that's where things get really dicey, is because it's a secular state, but it's a Jewish ethno state that hides behind its biblical birthright, which is the whole thing. Just, I mean, is a mess. That whole trifecta is an unstable chair with 3 different length legs. Okay,
So when you say like America did it with Israel, like I'm just trying to like pin down. We're not talking about, because by the way, Israel ain't that fucking, like, I've been in Israel. It's not like, it's not like, a glorious fucking place. It's
No, it's
kind
not.
of it's kind of like
yeah, it's
it
glamping.
ain't it, man. Right.
It's glamping, basically. There's
Right.
nothing
Yeah.
really
It's kind
extraordinary
of a
about it.
whole. So we're not talking about the country of Israel when we say America did it with Israel.
We are. We're talking about the country. We're talking about the political state of Israel. It is
But we talk about the political state. I'm just saying, like, we're not talking about, just like when we speak about America, we're not talking about the Americans. We're talking about like the government.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about Israel in particular. Okay, unique to Israel is the notion of Zionism, right? Zionism is the belief in the Jewish state, like believing that this is your promised land. That is the biblical entitlement. You don't go there for nothing. No, who the fuck drops their shit and says, I'm leaving Poland for the Middle East? Unless you honestly believe that you're supposed to be there. Who does that who does that in 1940s Transjordanian territory where there's jack shit except for olive trees and fishermen? Like, there ain't shit there, but you decided to show up, to drop your shit and leave Poland, Hungary, Eastern Europe, and head down to the Middle East of all fucking places with your pale ass, right? It's like,
with your pale ass. It's true.
It's true. So, okay, but then what else would drive you to do something like that other than some sort of larger calling to do it? Like, there has to be something more than just, I ain't got anything else going on. Fuck these pogroms. Let's pack our shit and go to Transjordan. Let's go visit the Ottoman Empire. Like, who fucking says that, except for the fact that it was completely marketed to them as saying, hey, this is a place where, this is a holy land for us. This is a place where we can be safe. This is a place where we don't have to worry about pogroms anymore, blah, blah, blah. Let's just go here. That it was sold. It wasn't just, and it was funded. Okay. It was funded by some really rich motherfuckers who happen to be Jewish. So say what you will about it. It's a thing, And so I'm not saying that Israel unto itself is that stellar. It isn't. But it is incredibly influential, and it is incredible, and it carries a lot of power in that regard. And the way in which it's done it is by milking the Holocaust. Like, that is the cow that's getting milked every time, because it comes back, right? It's like, so basically you're saying the Holocaust is okay. Iranians are basically Nazis, and it's like, we're just going to re-up the whole story again and rehash this whole Holocaust narrative of, from 1930s, 1940s, we're going to bring that back, all the imagery, and then, and then all the posts. And what they end up doing is they end up pushing a lot of messaging, right? It's the influence, it's the information thing. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Sneakers. It's an old movie with Robert Redford. I recommend it. It's fantastic. It has Ben Kingsley, as Dan Aykroyd. It's older. River Phoenix was still alive. It's an older movie. Highly recommend it. And I recommend it for the lesson in it. Right? It was a good performance, but the whole lesson was that it's not about who controls the money. It's about who controls the information. Right?
100%.
That's the takeaway from this. And this is what the villain is saying. He's saying, look, I just have to control the information. And once I do that, everybody will bend the knee. I can get everybody to bend the knee, and I'll control whole countries like this, right? That's what he's saying. And he's not wrong. And this was, this started with like 1980s hackers, 1990s hackers, right? Like, so it's like the black screen with the green dotted stuff, that kind of computer hacking. Yeah. 100% dot matrix, Lotus 123 type shit. So but that's what it was about. But that is what Israel controls. They don't have any money, believe it or not. They have donors, but those donors control things through their money and through their influence. They have donors who control media. They control information. And because they have people who are sold out for Israel and they are deep down Zionists who believe in this project, they're going to continue to cooperate. And the places in which they're cooperating is not in low-level places. They are cooperating in very high-level places. And then they co-opted, right, the dispensational Christians. So like there's two different sects. There's various denominations, but there are two major distinctions. There are the dispensationalists and the non-dispensationalists. Okay, the dispensational Christians are like the Lindsey Grahams and the Ted Cruzes.
I don't think I know what that word means.
So dispensation means a sort of like an exception.
Okay,
that's what the word actually means. Like for example, if I just used a separate scenario and said, Bara was late, but there was a special dispensation in that it started snowing, right? That's the dispensation, is the mitigating factor. That was like, okay, but there were different conditions, and had it not snowed, she would have been here on time and everything would have been fine. But we're going to give her some dispensation for that. That is the exception,
gotcha. Okay.
Right? So think in those terms. So dispensationalist Christians moved away from the obey the laws of Christianity and live a righteous life to, it doesn't matter what I do. Once I believe, once saved, always saved. That's the belief. Catholics don't believe this. Orthodox do not believe this. And there are plenty of non-denominational Christians who do not subscribe to this at all. Like, that is not their bag. But there are the dispensationalist Protestants, mainly, who believe this. And so they're like, okay, I don't have to be obedient to God. I basically just have to say I believe it and we're good, whatever. And that's largely what people see. Like, they're the loudest, they're the biggest example of Christianity in the United States. It's really unfortunate. And then they go one step further and they say, okay, there's a special dispensation for these for the state of Israel, because the state of Israel is the same as the biblical Israel. So this is something they believe, that this is why Catholics and Orthodox people are like, this is so not it. Like, this is, nobody's ever taught this. This is not real. Nobody believed this until 1900. Like, so I don't understand where this is coming from, but here we are. But if you co-opt a whole Protestant population and demographic, now the Jews, who are only 6% of the whole global population, suddenly become 20% of the population. They become much bigger, and people are just as sold out. They're both shooting for this, oddly enough, which is so crazy, because honestly, Israel was started by secular Jews. They're not religious Jews. No, religious, they were not religious. They were 100% secular. They were not, they didn't believe in anything. They just believed that they were entitled to the land. It was almost like lore, like they're culturally Jewish, but they're not religiously Jewish, and which people do. Like, there's cultural Catholics, they go through the motions, but they don't believe in anything. That's fine, whatever. They're secular Jews. Yeah, they're secular Jews. So I don't understand the whole religious aspect of it, but here they are leaning in, and they're saying, and so two prophecies are being fulfilled at the same time, right? That in the Bible, like, this is all biblical. So like, the Jew is saying, we were promised the land between the Nile and the Euphrates. That's the Greater Israel Project. This is ours. God promised it to us. I don't believe in God, but I still believe this. I believe this part. Okay. The Zionist Christian is saying, we've got to tear down, the dome, and we've got to rebuild the temple over here so that the Jews can continue sacrificing and doing their atonements there and doing all that. And if we do that, the second coming of Christ will, that'll usher in the second coming of Christ. The whole thing is just so crazy, even to many Christians who are looking at this saying, that is so not it. But so understanding that this is far more, this extends beyond that of Israel is a country that's the size of New Jersey. Israel is a country the size of New Jersey with the influence over the country, the whole country of the United States. Mm-hmm. It has captured its politicians. So by extension, it has us as its arm, mm-hmm. They were supposed to be a client state, but what we have become is its servant. And this is where people are upset. So when people say the Jews are at it again, what they're talking about, and for whether you believe it or not is not the issue, but understanding like their perspective is that there have been several situations where Israel has been involved. And you're just like, why do they keep getting involved in our shit? They have no seat at the table. They're not part of our Congress. They're not a member state. They're not part of our country. And yet they have so much influence. Why did they get to decide that why did they get any sort of influence over us going to war in Iraq? Right? Why did they get to bomb the USS Liberty and suffer zero consequences for that? They knowingly blew up a US ship. Nothing. There's definitely suspicions around JFK.
I 100%. So no, I'm not so by the way, I think for me it's almost like common knowledge that like Israel is kind of like pulling the strings, and politicians go like, okay, how high, daddy or auntie or cousin or what kind of like fucking incestual relationship do we have there?
Right.
Very, very like that's the next level of like daddy issues or mommy issues or whatever the fuck we have going on there. Yeah, like I said, it was just weird to see like the Jews being used as a collective against just Jewish people versus like the political state of Israel that has again a weird incestual relationship with America.
Yeah. And I think, well, the thing is that they're not talking about like the doctor down the street, the podiatrist. They're talking
They are now. That's what it turned into though. Right?
Yeah. It becomes something where it's, and that's the thing, right? Is it's like, you watch how Israel moves, you see who comes out in its support, right? And then you say, I can't have anything to do with any of that. And so you begin to associate and that's why you have little offshoots like Natra Karta, right? Natra Karta is a group of Orthodox Jews that denounce Israel and call it unbiblical because these Jews don't believe that it is biblical for there to be for there to be a Jewish homeland yet. There are several things that need to be fulfilled before that could happen. And so by forcing it, they've essentially brought a curse upon the land. That is what their beliefs are. So like, it's not Jews collectively. It certainly isn't these religious Jews. There are many religious Jews who do not subscribe to this at all. There are some religious Jews who do subscribe to it. And then there's a whole bunch of secular Jews who subscribe to it. So it's an ethno-state. It is, and so it is what it is. In the same way you have, an Iran, which is the Islamic Republic, like, is everybody in Iran a terrorist? No, I don't think so. I don't even think the majority of the country is.
But all the terrorists are.
And so, and that's essentially, and so it becomes this thing where, honestly, I'm not nearly as nervous about Iran as I am about Israel. Like as an American, I am 100% more fearful of Israel's influence over the United States than anything that Iran could have possibly done to the United States. Like 100%. Like I was not waking up in fear that Iran was going to do anything to the United States. But now what we have, right, is people worried that the war is going to come to the United States in the form of terrorist action. So sleeper cells would then awaken and start to exact.
You explain what sleeper cells are.
Right. So you have people who are here for that jihadi cause, right? That they've been living here. It's no different than the Russians who were living here in the 80s. Like they're assimilated. They're completely part of the United States.
They are American, right? Like, all intents and purposes. By the way, I need everyone to watch the show Americans.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yes.
It's fairly old, but it's basically Russian spies assimilating in America. So they're called sleepers. They would be sleepers, right?
That would be right. They were,
but they still work for the state.
Right. They were, yeah, exactly. So they started a whole life here, right? But
like American kids, the and the mom and dad coming here. So they're technically like spies, I guess. I don't fucking know what the right terminology would be.
Sure.
They have American kids and then Russia as their like leader demand something of them, and dad goes like, yo, but we like build a life here and our kids, but mom is very dedicated to fucking Russia.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Mom's like,
So
this
it's
is what we're doing. Yeah.
such a fucking good show.
No, it's great, but it's true. Like that would be it. They're here doing whatever. Benign, no, not even a speeding ticket, probably, families and whatever, people in good standing, and they will be activated. I mean, 24 did something similar to this. 24 portrayed something like this, the series with Kiefer Sutherland.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah, like very similar, where it's like everybody's cool until they're not, and that's the thing is, they wake them up and it's go time. They have their orders and they start doing what they're told to do, and that's what we're essentially being threatened with, right? So we have to remain fearful.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And Katarina is responding from Russia as we speak. So she's just commenting. It's super funny. She's like, hello from Russia. So she travels between America and Russia. She's Russian, living in America, half. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, so the Russians, everybody. So sleepers, people that have been here stationed, live a whole American life. And then, so who gets there? So in Israel, you fear Israel more. Sleepers, because they still have a loyalty to Israel.
Who still has a loyalty?
The potential sleepers.
Right. So that's the question, right? Who are the sleepers? Are the sleepers actually Iranian jihadis, or are they Israelis meant to stage red flag or false flags? Right. We don't know. I mean, the school that was bombed in Iran, they wanted to blame Iranians for it, but Iranians don't own Tomahawk missiles, and that's exactly what blew them up. So who blew them up? And it turns out it's the United States, but we wanted to blame Iran for it. But we've been blaming Iran for a lot of shit that they haven't been doing. So at some point, people are going to wake up to that fact. Like at some point, it's going to be hard to figure out who's to blame. And the trust in the government has gone down. Trust in media has gone down. Mm-hmm. The media is fairly captured at this point. And so now it's like something's going to happen, like what happened in Austin, right? What happened in Austin, there was a bombing of some sort that happened in Austin.
Okay. I didn't get it.
And they're like, see, it's the sleeper cells. And it's like, now it's like, you have to wonder, was that an Iranian sleeper cell, like a jihadi sleeper cell? Or was that something that went off because Israel set it off so that we could stay fearful and start to garner more support for this war against Iran, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, that you can't help but ask the question. You can't help but ask it, and you never get a satisfying answer. So it's like,
which is the problem, right? There's no sense. Right. But I wonder, like, this is the thing. You and I are in such like corners of the internet that I don't get this sentiment from like the normies, except for like, yeah, hey, World War III is coming. But like, if I would ask like, why do you think that? I'm still getting some kind of like CNN fucking or BBC answer, right? I'm not getting like a.
Well, Iran controls a good amount of oil, and the Strait of Hormuz controls a good amount of the supply chain for that oil. So it's no small thing what's happening right now. I mean, Europe, before even the Iran thing was happening, was already struggling with energy costs, like from the Ukraine thing.
Right? And it started prior, and then like when Ukraine is like fucking tempted it.
They are taking it from every fucking side with their energy. Like the energy
like
stuff is just
gangbanging it, man.
For reals though. So they're exhausted economically. England has already said, I'm not sending a fighter, a ship out. We're not doing it. We're not doing this. Like they've already kind of put their hands up and said, we're not getting involved like this. I don't know to what extent that's going to last, or if that's, or to what extent they're abstaining from this, but they're not willing to do much so far. The world war situation is that Europe is kind of impotent. It can't, because all of its defenses are the United States. We're NATO. We're the UN. We are, so they're kind of impotent, and they spent all of their money. Instead of building up a military, they decided to go and give everybody free healthcare. Okay, cool. Well, now you don't have a military, so they're kind of just sitting there waiting to find out what they get. That's what you're.
They're waiting to fuck. They fucked out. They fucked around, and now they're in the find out phase.
Right, they're the disarmed countries basically. I mean, they've got something, but they don't have much.
No, they're like they're full. Yeah, they're disarmed.
Right. So I mean, which is one of the reasons why they were so afraid of the United States pulling out of NATO. Right? Is that they're like, wait, you can't do that because I don't have a military.
Big bro.
Right. So there's that. The United States has since taken from there are actual ally countries like Japan and South Korea. We've diverted our resources away from those trade partners who are real partners for Israel, who doesn't give us anything. We get nothing from them. There's no return on investment here, just bad intel. That's what we get. So Japan actually trades with us and invests in the United States. South Korea, same thing. Qatar, same thing. So you can get mad at Qatar, but at the end of the day, they invested in the United States and Israel didn't. So it is what it is. But you have that, right? So we're now diverting everything towards this war. And Russia and China have said, under no uncertain terms, unequivocally, they're against this shit. Like, they don't like it. And they're affected. China is more affected by this than they were affected by Venezuela. So that was the first punch. And China was like, okay, fine, go fuck yourself. Take Venezuela, I don't care. But now he's got Iran. And they're starting to blow up their oil stores, right? It's raining oil there right now. Like, it's disgusting how sad it is. But like, they're destroying their infrastructure and their oil stores. So China's pissed, right? Russia's pissed. So I don't know to what extent this becomes a world war, but it wouldn't involve any of the allies from World War II because they're impotent.
So what's the potential outcome? So so if China and Russia go like, yo, big bro, you were drunk again. Like, yeah, there's our drunk brother again.
Right.
Yeah, we'll leave it. What are they going to do if they don't want to leave it?
Like, if the United States doesn't want to leave?
No, so if Russia and or China are going like, yo, big bro, we've told you to not fucking do this.
Right.
Now we need to, like.
I mean, if I were them,
what are the what is like the atmosphere saying right now that is going to happen? Like, what's going to be the I don't want to say retaliation because that's not the right word, but like,
no, they're not going to retaliate. They're not going to retaliate. They're not going to participate in that war. They're going to let the United States do what they're going to do. If I'm them, the first thing I would be thinking as Russia, I'd be like, oh, Ukraine's mine. I own this bitch now. It's mine. I win. Checkmate on Ukraine.
Yeah.
Could be checkmate on Georgia. Could be checkmate on anybody else. I don't know. But for now, Ukraine for sure loses. Ukraine loses. Like, there's no way we're supporting both. So we're going to give up Ukraine for Israel 100%. We were loyal until we're not. So yeah, we got something else going on over here now. More important than you. Go fuck yourself, Zelensky. Too fucking bad. Slava, slava, but good luck with that. Right? So if I'm Russia, that's the first thing I'm doing. First thing I'm doing is I'm taking Ukraine, right? Because that's the easiest thing I can do. And it's mine. I still believe I'm Russia. I'm Russian. I believe that's mine anyway. So fuck this shit. I'm taking it.
I already thought it was mine.
Yeah, it was you.
Fine, now everyone acknowledges this is great.
Yeah. So that's Russia. At the very least, that's the first thing that's the first thing they do. The second thing that happens is China. China's like, oh, you have now left the entire eastern seaboard of East Asia exposed. Taiwan doesn't stand a chance, neither does Hong Kong. I'll be taking those, thank you very much. You can't fight them. You can't.
This is legit, like, what is that? Is it called Risk in English too, the game?
Yeah.
Where you have like little like triangles that represent your army, and you exposed this, I'm taking over.
And that is precisely, if I'm China, I would 100% do that. This is the opportunity to do it. This is the opportunity to do it. This is as it is the opportunity for Russia to take Ukraine and call it. And they're going to be like, we win. I'm going to do one big sweep through this shit. I'm coming in. I'm taking this shit. I'm not going to waste more time than I have to. This is going to be quick. I'm going to come in with the quickness. I'm going to do this and then it's done. It's mine. And now there is no Hong Kong. There is no Taiwan. Those are counties within China. Those are
Welcome to
provinces
New
now.
Provence. Yeah. I wonder if the people like 200 years from now, I'm talking mostly about Ukraine, where they're going to be like, well, then the colonizers came in 2026, and we want our apologies and reparations.
Good luck with that. Russia don't play, so I doubt
None,
that'll.
none of the world plays except for fucking America plays this weird ass fucking
And
game.
England, apparently.
Barely. Yeah.
And Canada.
I mean, Canada is non-relevant. Like they're just trying to just like it's Canada is like Canada is like if my friend would buy a perfume and put it on herself and she would like spray it on herself and I would walk through it and be like, I got a new perfume. No, bitch, I don't. Like it's just whatever's coming along. Like it's kind of just getting a whiff of everything and taking it like but no, Canada is nothing.
Right. So, I mean, see, that's the thing. Like, once you look at the world as a world war, who are the bigger players? The bigger players are going to be Russia, China, and the United States. So now the question is like, is this an opportunity, right? You were saying, in terms of like just yourself, you're saying, business is great during wartime, right? Okay. Well, if your business goes up, right, because you find new opportunities, because there's major vulnerabilities exposed during wartime for a lot of people, then it stands to reason that the same, the opportunists of Russia and China would also
100%, like on a scale, like exceptional large scale.
And that's the question: is what are you going to do about it, though? Are you going to fight me? You're going to fight Russia? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to fight Russia for fucking Ukraine right now? No, you're not. You're not going to fight us.
There was someone that posted on the Twitter of the X that I might have to just actually pull it up. Something like, if you're gonna bomb the American cities, America only gets stronger because like the only thing that's left over is like non-populated, non-centralized spots that don't depend on external.
Right. Right. I mean, I don't know what happens to the United States. I mean, because if you're sending America's prime beef off to go fight a land war in Iran, right? Because it started. They've already deployed. The Tennessee National Guard has already been deployed to Iran. It's starting. We're going to have a land war. There's going to be troops on the ground. It's going to happen. And once you send off this round of prime beef, who's left? Bunch of sacks of mayonnaise, woke ass, bitch tits, and fucking overweight.
Anti-guns.
Like they're not doing anything. I mean, they've all sterilized themselves from transing to death. Like they're like and pounding gallons of fucking Mountain Dew. Like there's no chance.
Yeah,
like, the United States is going to be like a shell of what it was. Like
word. Okay.
So,
I feel like we solved it again.
I don't know what we solved. I think there's more questions than answers on this one.
But, well, this like it's been interesting. Like the lingering war, or the idea of lingering war, is that it, for one, and I have this conversation all the time when fucking, especially when leftovers refer to like World War II, is that they described it as this like singular event almost, or like a chain of events that happened like several days in a row, that kind of like stopped the world. And I'm like, well, no, it was like several years, and prior to that, like a decade of putting those leaders in charge. Right. Like right, but life didn't stop. Like life stopped in the cities that were bombed, but the rest of life didn't stop. Like even life in the cities that were bombed didn't stop. It just became really fucking horrible, obviously. Right. But life didn't stop. Right? Like creators were still creating, artists were still arting, people were still building. Like life kept happening.
That's right. That's true.
And so when people like approaches like, hey, war is coming, as if it's this like singular event, no, like the majority of the people are probably not going to feel there's a war in the direct sense. It's going to have economic implication. Absolutely. Fuck yeah. Not sure. Yeah. But more things than just war have economic implications. So we don't need a war for that.
Right. It just so
Because you have
happens.
economic crisis, right? Like a bubble,
Right.
like the '08. We don't need a war for that. We can do.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just this like war is coming near you, and yeah,
I
I'm like,
mean,
okay, what are you gonna do?
right. Well, that's the
What are
thing.
you gonna do?
Right. But that's no different. It's no different than being afraid of COVID, right? Like, if you get sick, you get sick. What the fuck are you going to do about it? Get better.
Ahead of it,
I don't know.
right?
Like, fucking get better, I guess. Because if it catches up with you and you get sick, you're going to get sick, and then you got to get over it or die. Like, pick one. Same thing with the war thing. If it comes to a town near you, cool. I guess that sucks, but like, pick up your shit and keep moving, or
There's
die.
nothing you can do now.
Right. Exactly.
That's why.
It's going to happen. What's going to happen is going to happen. There's only so many things you can do in preparation for that. There's only so many different ways you can mitigate those, the chances of that happening and maybe reduce the odds. But it kind of is what it is. So you might as well get on with it. Like.
Yeah. I don't think it's helpful at all just to constantly like think like or have the fear lingering of like war is coming.
And I would say that would be the most detrimental thing, right? Is that black pilling of like, oh fuck, it's just like the nihilistic type of like, there's no point, everything is over, it's the end of the world, blah blah blah, and why bother?
Well, and I would even argue that the people who say that shit don't even truly believe it. I keep using the same fucking examples. If you truly believe that Uncle Sam is American, like that Uncle John on the corner of fucking West Main Street is a pedophile, if you believe that, you are not bringing your kids to him. If you truly believe that war is coming, you're going to be conducting yourself differently.
That's true.
So I'm calling that no one is actually, not no one, but the majority of people who are calling that war is coming don't actually believe it.
Right.
But they are mentally addicted to that fear that it instills in them and how it hijacks their brain like a fucking parasite.
Well, that's like vaccines, right? Everybody got freaked out about vaccines, but I'm like, y'all never checked. Like, if you were really worried, you would not go to the mall unless everybody was being checked, and you didn't give a fuck. You went to the mall, you went grocery shopping, you went to the amusement park, you still went on a plane because your life didn't fucking stop for it. You're pissed online. But in real life, you never gave it a second fucking thought. And
it's the same with the school shootings, right? Like, oh, my biggest fear is now that my kids are going to get shot up at school.
Yeah.
No, you don't.
I mean,
if you truly believe that,
put their kids in homeschool.
Exactly.
They homeschool.
They put their money where their fucking mouth is.
That's right. They pull their kids out. Okay, I believe you.
I believe that you truly believe it. Like, you're one of the fucking few ones.
Yeah, 100%. You're the real one. You're the one that's like, no, I don't want my kid getting shot, so I guess I'll pull my kid out of school and homeschool. That's what I would expect somebody to do.
100%.
So like, what is it that you would do if you really thought war was coming? You'd be digging a fucking bunker under your house is what you'd be doing, but you're not. I don't have the money. Okay, well,
I guarantee you, if war comes near a town near you, the money don't matter, baby.
I'm just saying.
So we did solve the fucking world. We did solve the fucking world because we once again pulled everyone's bluff that everyone's calling war is coming near a town near you, but no one's fucking acting accordingly. Everyone's just mentally masturbating to the fear.
That's fair.
Yo, everyone, Rich and Hydrated, Diamonds and Demons edition. Today was very political. Today was war. Today, oh, my dog was like, whoa, what's going on?
Heavy topic.
And yeah, this was fucking great. Now we solved it again. Everyone's mentally masturbating. Conclusion, as per always.
Right.
Nothing new, but conclusive.
Putting the leftovers back in the foam box.
Now we're just expanding the leftovers to the people who are fear mongering about war as well. I'm like, damn it! I thought y'all had the potential to be the real ones at least, but no.
Yeah, you had the potential and you wasted it. Fuck.
Everyone. Disappointed, not surprised. Everyone, keep hydrated. Next week we'll be back again